Hello, my name is Travis Newbell. I live and work here at Shambhala Mountain Center, where we'll be hosting the Shambhala Queer Dharma Retreat later this month from March 28th through the 30th. And fortunate to have Acharya Eve Rosenthal here today to have some conversation. She'll be co-leading the retreat along with Acharya Eric Spiegel. Acharya Rosenthal has been a practitioner and teacher within the Shambhala Buddhist tradition since the 1970s. She's the founder of Shambhala Online. She's worked in technology on Wall Street as well as working as a university professor. And she's also a practitioner and instructor of Tai Chi. So if I didn't leave anything out, or if that's sufficient, I'd like to welcome Acharya Rosenthal. Thank you so much for taking the time to have some discussion today.
Thank you, Travis. It's a pleasure to be here.
So let's see, the first question I have is related to the journey of the individual, and particularly an individual who identifies as queer. I have studied enough of the Shambhala and Buddhist teachings to be familiar with the notion that obstacles may be treated as opportunities, even precious opportunities. So I wonder how that may be particularly true, in the case of a queer individual.
Well, I could talk a little bit about my own experience discovering that I had feelings for individuals of the same sex, and that was a very interesting thing to discover. It's not that easy to discover that because it's outside of the social norm, and it's not something that you particularly blurt out or tell your relatives about, or even some of your friends. And so it's not a particularly convenient discovery necessarily, and it's always hard to be a minority, and particularly it's not always acceptable to have these feelings depending on where you are. And so I found it's not exactly an obstacle, but in order to identify that way, you have to make what might be an inconvenient discovery and actually come into touch with how you really feel. And you're not feeling what the media would like you to feel or what perhaps your parents would like you to feel, but actually how you do feel. And then have the confidence to not manipulate that and actually manifest from those feelings and develop relationships and from that, and then have the courage to tell people about how you really feel. And that's actually the basis of our meditation practice, and our tradition is to be completely genuine. And so I think having made that good discovery, one is kind of forced to be completely genuine about who they are, and that could be that's actually a good thing, although not always an easy thing.
And how does it's the sort of the basis of our meditation practice be cutting through preconceptions about how we are or how we ought to be and getting down to some truth? How does the formal practice of meditation and engagement with community work to promote that sort of trajectory?
Well, um, the practice of meditation is to um, just not be afraid of who you are moment by moment. And so free of habit and free of preconceptions. And so um, it by doing meditation, you can actually see your confusion and allow that in, and also allow in your certainty, and also to be able to feel your heart and operate from that basis. And then once you can do that for yourself, then naturally more compassion arises for how people cover themselves over or reveal themselves. And everybody's doing some of both of those things. And so because you have been through that journey, and maybe because of your queerness, it's been a very, there's been some very sharp aspects of that. And then there's an opportunity to actually feel compassion and develop kindness toward others because of the because you know how through the meditation and maybe through your challenges that that can be difficult, but it's also each person deserves to be whoever they are. So I think that that's a meditation actually allows you to create a safe environment for yourself to be exactly who you are, and where the prime directive in Shambhala is to not be afraid of who you are. And so you can bring all of yourself to the cushion and actually allow all of everyone else to be there too.
Seems like typical for people to have an expectation about like fully being who they are, have some ideal in their mind about what that might be like, and that immediately setting up some dichotomy between, oh, if I was really, if this practice was really working, if I was doing good, then I would be more, fully realized, myself. But, I feel like that's such a, such a long ways off from, how I am now. How can we work with expectations like that? And, what's that, what sort of instructions might we apply?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, everybody usually comes to the cushion because they want something. They want something to change. I mean, it's kind of a radical act to sit there quietly and not. Particularly, it's not very entertaining. Of all the choices you could make about an activity, this one's kind of radical, actually. But it's the instructions of meditation is to, we have these ideas about how we would like to be and all of that, and those are included. But the actual instruction is to feel what's actually happening with us. So what's happening in our body, maybe. Some things are tight, maybe in your body, and what your breath feels like, and also what your perceptions are, what forms and colors and sounds you might be feeling, and what the texture of your thoughts, so whether you have a lot of thoughts or they're more quiet, and also our mood, how do we feel right now? Do we feel uh, up or down or sad or joyful, or and just noticing. Everyone comes to the cushion because they would like to, generally because they would like to improve or have less stress. But the path to that is actually allowing yourself to be as you are, and then so the meditation is to notice the present moment. And there's various guidelines that have been handed down from the lineages about how to do that, but it's really very simple. It's actually feeling yourself right now and what's happening in this very moment. And so those expectations are part of the thought process, but the other key thing is to usually we go toward those expectations because we don't feel we're good enough. And so something needs to happen that will make us better in our own eyes, better in the eyes of others. But we find that even if we can manipulate ourselves into that person, it's not really sustainable a situation. And the only way to gain true confidence is to actually be exactly who we are, moment to moment. And then the basic principle of Shambhala is that that's basically good. That person, there's basic goodness at the root of every single being. And if we can actually relax and open up, then that is going to naturally reveal itself because it's there.
You wrote a blog post for our SMC blog, and in there you used this beautiful phrase. I hope I'm not taking it too out of context, but you said is that we may offer the gift of our queerness to others. So from what you were just talking about, you can see how relaxing into who we are has further implications than just feeling less crummy about ourselves, but then actually there's something that we begin to offer others. I wonder if there's just anything further that you can maybe add to that notion. The gift of our queerness.
Well, generally, speaking, when you have some kind of challenge in your life, then, what is the phrase? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And so I just noticed, like, just for myself, when I had an injury, not to say that queerness is an injury, but it just is sort of slightly correlated. I began to notice that there were other people who had some difficulties and were actually felt a lot more sympathetic toward others. Usually I would just sort of gloss that over when I'm feeling healthy, and then I would kind of ignore other people, who are not as healthy. But then I started to actually notice people more. And I feel like with the queerness, there's a challenge that comes with that. Whenever you're a minority, you're not the dominant part of the culture, then that always comes with challenges, and people are going to have opinions about whether you should be that way or whether you can change it or whether it's your choice, and sometimes it's actually dangerous and all of those kinds of things. And I found in doing these Queer Dharma retreats that the people who come, not just about the retreat itself, but I noticed, first of all, is that you can, the people who come have self-identified as part of the SGM, it's a sexual gender minority. It's a new acronym other than the LGBT, all of those letters, so there's some new letters. But so people have self-identified that way, and so I notice that people can turn off their gaydar, and actually that's always kind of on. So who's part of your group and who isn't, and everything, and whether people are going to be friendly or not friendly, or what you can say or what you can't say, and that kind of goes away during these retreats. So that's actually quite relaxing. I quite enjoy that a lot. And generally, people who have come to the retreats have gone through a journey, and they're interested generally in meditation and exploring the topics from a sort of a non-aggressive way. And I found that the people who generally come to the retreats have really made that journey, have realized something very genuine about themselves, and that actually is an amazing gift. And I feel that because we have had to face some challenges, that we have the opportunity to have more compassion for others who, no matter who they are and what kind of opinions they hold, and whether they're very different from us, there's some kind of expectation that they're trying to live up to, and maybe feel that they can't be the ideal person, and they have all kinds of issues with, are they good enough, and all of that. And so even though the content might be very different, the human journey isn't actually that different. And I think that the queer community is possibly a leg up on that exploration, because that's we're given this kind of odd gift. And so that's why I called it the gift of queerness.
Thank you. And thanks again so much for taking the time to speak and share your wisdom, Acharya. I think one more thing to mention is that there's going to be a queer Dharma online gathering, interactive session, and that's coming up. Is it next weekend?
It's March 16th.
Okay.
And you can go to shambhalaonline.org, and there'll be an announcement there. And it's really neat because the last time we did it, there were, I don't know how many people, but we could see everybody. It's an environment that allows many people to have their videos on at once. And Acharya Spiegel will give some opening remarks, and then we have a discussion. And the last one, which you can see the recording of, I gave the principal comments, and we had a wonderful discussion about sort of heterosexual privilege, but also some of the prejudices that the queer community might hold as well. And it was very, very rich discussion. So you're welcome to look at that and also join us live. So you can, if you have a camera, you could use that, and also a microphone, and all, but also if you don't have any of that, you can chat your comments. And so it was great to get together. We had people from all over North America, and from Alaska to Florida. So it was quite rich in Canadians as well.
For our viewers and listeners who have accessed this interview on the Shambhala Mountain Center blog, in this blog post there will be links to both the previous online discussion and the one that's coming up on March 16th. So definitely encourage you to check both of those out. And unless there's anything else that you'd like to say, Acharya?
No, the only thing that I would like to uh, say is about Shambhala Mountain Center itself, and I'd like to echo some of the sentiments that was expressed by Eric Spiegel, is that if you haven't been to Shambhala Mountain Center, I don't think you'll be sorry that you went. It's a very amazing environment, and on the retreat we'll have um, time for meditation and discussion and movement, and we'll also be working with our senses in the natural environment, and it's quite a spectacular one, glorious place to be up in the mountains in Colorado. And so, these online things are really nice, and it's great to get together that way. But to be together, we'll have some social time, but we'll also have some time in a very beautiful environment. And certainly the vastness of it really puts things in perspective. So I'm looking forward to being at Shambhala Mountain Center at the end of March.
Yeah, which is coming up, and those of us who live here are very much looking forward to hosting you and everyone else who may come to be a part of this retreat. We're also excited to share. So we will be in touch, and thank you to our viewers and listeners for tuning in, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Okay, thank you, Travis.
Thank you, Acharya. Bye.